Before you start, close the raw water intake valve. This is a Universal Diesel M2-12 and I'm going to show how I changed the rubber impeller in this Sherwood pump. There are 3 bolts that hold the housing on. They come off first. The heads of the bolts are on the back side, making this more difficult. You'll need a 7/16 inch wrench. Once I got the bolts off, I pulled the housing off, exposing the impeller. There's the woodruff key right there. There's a brass plate that sits right behind the impeller. Pull it off and you can see the insides of the pump. The pump uses both a paper gasket and a rubber O-ring. They're both worn out and the impeller kit includes both. Here's the old impeller I took off, and it's not too bad, but it does have bent blades and it's at least 4 years old, so it was time to replace. I wet the new paper gasket in water so it would stick to the pump. The brass plate slips right back on and it's secured by the 3 bolts. I'm sticking the new impeller back on. You just line it up with the woodruff key and shove it on. The O-ring goes into a groove in the housing, and it would be easier if I had 2 hands, but I'm holding a camera. I lubricated the impeller first, and then I forced the housing onto the impeller and had to curl the rubber blades a little to get the housing on. I lubricated the impeller with soapy water, but you can use this. Some say this is good, and others think this works just fine. Now I'm going to put everything back together. For me, this was the hardest part. You have to line up the gasket, the brass plate, and the housing while sticking the bolts through the back of the pump. This part took me a little while. This job isn't too hard. It took me longer to do though than I expected. Make sure you reopen the raw water valve and you're done.